And good evening, everybody. And it's an awesome night. We're talking Pegasus World Cup here, and I'm getting to do it with my best friend in the world, Nancy Holthus from Oaklawn Park from Fox Sports. She's done a little bit of everything. You've been out in California, you've been on TVG, you've done this, that, and the other thing. So, first off, it's awesome to see you. And
You
you're
too.
gonna, I know, oh, of course. I mean, I know you're happy to see me.
We text every day,
We
but
do.
you're in my closet, my
It's a
bedroom
nice closet
closet.
though. Yeah, you have the wardrobe over your left shoulder there. You're getting ready for Southwest weekend.
Yep.
You're in the midst of an extended meet here too, because you've been going on since December this year. And it's a good thing because you guys have so much purse money with how the casino has been rolling in that. How's the meet been going over there at Oaklawn this year?
The meet has been absolutely amazing. And as you mentioned, the Southwest this weekend and the 3-year-old season series, rather, we actually moved back a little bit, which has actually benefited those 3-year-olds because it does give our horsemen more time between the Arkansas Derby and the Kentucky Derby. So there's added money this year. The Arkansas Derby, $1.25 million. So not only added money, but more time between those races because now with no Lasix, I think those 3-year-olds do need more time to give them rest and recovery. So it's a great time span. And yeah, we always like to say the road to the Triple Crown goes through Hot Springs.
Well, and you know what? Here's the thing. It kind of does now because you guys have created a series. You have the Southwest, you have the Rebel, you have the Arkansas Derby. Horses and multiple horses can easily acquire enough points racing through that series and not having to win all the races. I mean, you can win the Rebel or win the Arkansas Derby, you're in. You finish second in a couple of these races or even third, you're probably in the gate for the Derby. And the one thing that I've kind of liked, Nancy, about just how things are set up for the just everything at Oaklawn Park is proximity to Churchill Downs. You're not coming from the far west coast. You're not having to come from either up in New York area or anything along those lines. It's relatively close there to Louisville, and it's one of those things where I think it's really a nice setup, and that's why horses have done so well too.
Yeah, and one other thing, Jim, is that the crowds that we do get on and Arkansas Derby Day are kind of what horses and horsemen can expect on Kentucky Derby because, horses are in that indoor paddock to saddle, but they go over to the infield and they get fans in the infield. They hear that roar of around 60,000 fans. Not many racetracks get that anymore. So horses get to familiarize themselves with that type of surrounding. And that's something that you're not going to get anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, and it's something that has worked out well for horses in the past. And like you mentioned, an infield crowd, you get a huge crowd in the stands there. I've been there for Arkansas Derbies in the past. It is. It's a great atmosphere, so much history at Oaklawn Park. And I know I'm taking you away from handicapping the Oaklawn races, and I know you spend hours upon hours of time just scrutinizing over all your selections at Oaklawn. By the way, you have been picking very well, so kudos to you. You've been doing very well throughout the course of the week. So very proud of you as always. But we're focusing on 3 races here from Gulfstream this weekend. It is the Pegasus World Cup. There's 3 invitational races here that we want to take a look at, Nancy. And I wanted to get your picks and just kind of talk through the races for everybody a little bit and give them a head start on the weekend, which is why we're doing it live right now and get everybody set for Saturday. So the first race there is race number 9. The first race we're going to look at is the Filly and Mare Turf Invitational. And looking at this race, it's a field of 11 in here, going 1.1 miles on the turf course. Nancy, you and I in the end up agreeing on the same horse. I thought this race was a somewhat tough race. I don't think for the top pick here, we are going to agree with the same horse. But who did you go to? How did you see this race unfolding for the Filly and Mare Turf Invitational?
Well, you know what? I actually liked the number 4 Regal Glory on top. I hate to choke on chalk, but you know what? Chad Brown and Jose Ortiz. I think this horse does come out of that Grade 1 matriarch. It was race did lack some early speed, but is normally a stalker. I think this horse went to the lead kind of by default last time out, is a winner at the distance, and can put wins together. So does come off of that race back in late November at Del Mar. Also really like the number one Sweet Melania from the barn of Todd Pletcher. Luis Saez in the irons has that stalking style. And Todd Pletcher actually was quoted by saying, she is really coming into this race even better than she came into that last race at Gulfstream when she won. Got up to score by half a length at Gulfstream back in mid-December, coming in even better. Todd Pletcher and Saez are 12 for 25 in the win column, and she is very solid at the distance, in the money, 6 of 7. So she is absolutely favorable at the mile and a 16th. So I'm going to round out with the leading trainer, Sappy Joseph, with the number 9, Shifty She. I've been called worse. Very quick turn of foot, is 4 for 7 in the win column over the Gulfstream turf. I love a horse for course, and that is exactly what this 6-year-old mare is. And she was second to Sweet Melania last out in that grade 3.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this race, Nancy, the thing about it that first off I want to look at, I do like connections. I like getting a rider that's familiar with the horse. I was with you with Regal Glory. A lot of it for that reason. Chad Brown's always excellent on the turf. Jose Ortiz has been with this horse. This is a horse that has raced well. Very good lifetime, 16 starts lifetime, 13 times first or second. And I just think tactically wise, you look at the race here. I mean, Lady Spike Spirit can show a little bit of speed. Shifty She maybe is forwardly placed in this spot. Class wise alone, though, I'm with you. I do think Regal Glory is the best horse. The horse has won at the distance as well. I was curious, and I'm glad we talked a little bit before the show here about jockey John Velasquez. And here's the thing, he's not riding Sweet Melania, but you're going to be seeing him, right, this weekend?
I was going to say, yeah, Johnny V, he is in my backyard at Oaklawn Park. So, yeah, he's got a mount in the Southwest and also a mount in the King Cotton. So, very looking forward to having the Hall of Famer at Oaklawn.
Yeah, and that's the reason you don't see him on this horse on Sweet Melania, because he's got a big shot there over at Oaklawn Park. So there is a reason. And Luis Saez, he's more than ample of a replacement there. So Regal Glory is the one that we're going to agree with. After that, I went to Summer in Saratoga second. Corey Lannery aboard this horse here for Joe Sharp. This was more just because of the distance. 6 starts at the distance, 3 of those coming as victories. You're coming in off a 2-race win streak. The last out of Fairgrounds was a pretty good effort. Class-wise, I don't know if the horse is good enough or not for a field like this. And this is hard when you get these invitational races, because they get to kind of pick and choose who they want to put in a field like this. But the horse has been solid on the turf, 12-1 price. So I took a little bit of a shot there. And a horse that actually raced at Indiana Grand back in July this year in Summer at Saratoga. By partisanship, not only is going to be my long shot play, but my third choice, 20-1. To me, Paco on the turf at Gulfstream. You see Paco Lopez time and again race very well. He's got already 39 wins on the meet. He's a guy that's done very well. Graham Motion, is always good with horses on the grass as well. But in the end, Nancy, we're going to agree. We're going to agree with Regal Glory on top. I think we're right. So I think we're going to give everybody at least a winner to start things out. And then after that, it's a question of what we do underneath in there. But that's kind of how I saw the race as well. Now, before we look at the next race, which is the Turf Invitational, you said we have to talk about entertainment. All right?
Oh,
I've been to the infield and Kentucky Derby Day. I've seen what they've done with the Preakness for concerts and that. When you said there's entertainment for Gulfstream Park, I figured Flo Rida is performing all afternoon and evening long, and that's it, and that's the only act. You said it's not the case, though. You said there's actually a good lineup of entertainment, right?
Yeah. So I will admit, I did have to look this guy up. DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic. So this guy became like a massive viral cultural phenom during the pandemic because everybody was quarantined. This is how he got famous. So he's one of the headliners. Ja Rule. Hello. Do we remember Ja? I kind of remember Ja Rule when he like blew up with the Fire Fest and like screwed everybody out of a lot of money. But We won't go there. But remember the duo he did with Ja Rule? I'm Real.
Yes.
Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But he's a tiny little guy in person. If you've ever seen him, he's but he's brawn. Anyway, Ja Rule is there, and can I get out what for Lil Kim
Well,
is also.
who's
I
bigger,
mean,
Ja Rule or Lil Kim?
I don't know. They might. I don't know. And also Mace. So they spared no expense when
Right.
it comes to the headliner. And also Pegasus Day is notorious for getting the huge Miami,
Yeah.
like big celebrities. I mean, speaking of, J-Lo has actually been to the Pegasus Day. I mean, we're talking Vanessa Hudgens, and think about all of the massive A+ athletes that live in Miami. They are going to go. And I've heard there's some like the Carousel Club. I forget what it's called, but Trist or something. But they have like this burlesque venue there, and I want to go. But
So you're taking the afternoon off at Oaklawn?
I'm working. But eventually, I love a good burlesque show. I'm going to make it there one day.
That's
We'll
awesome. You know what? It is. It's going to be fun. We talk about you talk about what they've done with Dubai World Cup Day and how big that day is in the event. They're building something similar here with the Pegasus, which is really cool. And you're right. Big events in Miami do draw the celebrities. Look at the Miami Heat, especially when you'd have LeBron playing down there and everything. Courtside seats were always your big celebrities. When there's something going on, they pop up for this. It's kind of like your prelim to the Kentucky Derby because a lot of them are going to show up for the Derby as well. But
right.
it is. I'm going to be watching now to see the height difference between Shower Rule and Lil Kim.
Well, I mean, the fact that the list of the entertainers
Yeah,
made ugly is huge. I
right.
mean, that that in itself is that's some serious clout right there.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. It's going to be a great setup there. I believe it's going to be nationally televised too. So
And
this
be
is something where we're not talking about just an in-house production by any means. This is something that's going to be a big event and something that they're growing quite a bit. All right, next race number 11 on the card is the Turf Invitational. To me, this is the best race of the three invitational races. Field of 12, it goes a mile and an eighth. Um, Looking up and down the field here, there's some question marks on some horses. There's some horses that are very talented. There's some horses that you tend to wonder, okay, do they belong? Are they ready? Some along those lines. Kick it off though. Who did you like here and why?
well, I had to go with the defending champ. That's Colonel Liam from the barn of Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz in the irons. I'm drawing a line through his last race. That was over the turf at Belmont back in June. And I know it's been a long time, but this horse is 6 for 9 in the win column. But they gave this horse time off after the
Yeah,
Manhattan. And this race specifically was the target race should his layoff go the way that Pletcher wanted it to. This is a big race to point back to. I know this is a long time off of the layoff, but the fact that they think he's good enough to come back and defend his title gives me a lot of, support
yeah.
for this particular runner. He's run well off the layoff before. He's got tactical speed. Irad knows exactly how to get this horse to the winner's circle. He's 2 for 2 over the Gulfstream turf, and he's also 2 for 2 at the distance.
Here's what I didn't know what to do with the horse. I picked the horse second in here, and it was for that reason for the layoff. And you make incredible points. It's not like you're laying a horse off pointing towards $100,000 stake for a return or something like that, some sort of prep. This is $1 million race that they're jumping right into. Pletcher's winning at a 40% rate. Irad Ortiz, the last 3 times he had ridden this horse, it was win, win, win. So it's one of those things where the horse is good. I didn't know what to do with the layoff. That was the thing that
I get it. It's a valid question.
yeah. And because of that, I went to the outside. Your second pick here, I went to Never Surprised. Now, Never Surprise is another Pletcher horse in here. You get Luis Saez aboard, and Never Surprise is a one-run type of horse. It's gun it and go, and that's the only option you have. The thing for me, there's only two other horses I thought could show speed in here. Doswell, the 7, and I don't think they're going to show speed. And then Channel Cat, and Channel Cat's kind of speed, but not really committed to the front end. I just tend to wonder if nobody's going to go with Never Surprise. Tend to wonder if this horse is just going to go out there, shake loose, and never look back. You definitely know Colonel Liam's not going to challenge, but I don't think he would challenge anyway in here. But I like the fact that you and I are kind of going the same way with Pletcher 1-2. We just flip-flopped how we're going to look to those horses there for first and second. Now, your third choice in here was a horse that interested me a little bit because I didn't know what the horse was going to do, but has been okay at Gulfstream, has been okay at the distance, and that's Doswell. This horse is 10-1, Nancy, and the horse, I think, has a legitimate shot, don't you think?
Well, I do anyway. It's interesting because he had the ideal trip last out, but I don't think he's going to get that ideal trip
Yeah,
with this particular field in this race. But he all three wins have been on the lead. Not sure if he's going to get the lead in this
right.
particular, but I love that he's in the money all four starts over this particular turf course. He's very sharp at the distance. Junior Alvarado in the irons. I'm a huge Barkley Tag fan.
Yeah,
And I like the works coming into this race. He broke on the rail last time. He gets kind of a middle of the ground post position, but I really think this horse has a lot of talent. And he came out of a pair of thirds on the Naira circuit against two other than allowance races, and then stepped right back up into graded stakes company last out at Gulfstream. So it's going to be a really interesting group. But, talking about Never Surprised on the outside, he's a gun it and go type runner. He draws that far outside 12 posts. That's why I put him second, because he is going to have to gun it if he's going to want to make the lead. Also, going to take on older runners for the first time in his career. So he does have that natural speed, and I love the fact of how consistent he is. He's never been out of the exacta, never missed that in his 7 career starts, but I do think he is going to have to overcome that outside post.
Yeah, you're probably right. And the thing is, and you're right a lot. So that's the
Well,
thing. Uh,
so that with my husband, I'm right a lot, but maybe not with anybody else.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I did pick the horse. Like you said, you have no option but to go, because if the horse tries to drop him behind, the horse is probably going to drop him behind 6 or 7 horses, and has never raced that way before. So because of that, Never Surprise is the horse that I am going to go to on top, and I'm just going to hope that I'm right there. All right, now we're on to the Pegasus World Cup. It's a $3 million race here, Nancy. I tend to wonder. All right, I went back and it was just recently. I was actually watching the movie Secretariat. Okay, I'm equating this race a little bit here to kind of what you saw of Secretariat's Belmont in 1973, and not for the fact that you're going to see a 31 length performance for a victory, but to me, it's a 2 horse race. It's Nick's Go. It's Life is Good. But here's the thing: is who Nick's Go? I think has to go. Life is Good, I think, has to go. And I think it's going to become a battle of stamina. I could see the potential of Nick's Go going and just continuing and going. I think if Life is Good, it takes it to Nick's Go. This horse is not only going to fade, but going to fade badly. Now, I may be completely wrong, but that's what I'm thinking for this race. How did you see this race for the Pegasus here?
Well, when I was making my notes, I literally wrote match race from the bell. It's the Breeders' Cup Mile winner versus the Breeders' Cup Classic winner. And you know what? This almost does have that movie plot, because this is Nick's Go's final race
Right.
before he goes to the breeding shed. How more just monumental would it be that he goes out that winter, spreading the flowers from the winner's blanket up in the air? Joel Rosario, Brad Cox has already talked about, how emotional his final work was, how emotional just leading up to this race is. He's had some really good runners in his barn retire this past year, Monomoy Girl. So it has been a very emotional year. No doubt in my mind that Nick's Go is going to be Horse of the Year. Joel
Yeah,
Rosario
has
is
to
going
be.
to win his first and overdue Eclipse Award. Brad Cox coming off his Eclipse Trainers Award and very potentially his second. Um, and Nick's Go is the defending champ in this race. So I've been a fan of his for so long. I see Nick's Go as the class of this field. And like you said, they're going to go from the bell. It is going to be that match race for speed. And I think his class is what is going to take him to the winner's circle.
I think you're right too. And here's the thing: I followed Nick Go a lot through his 3-year-old campaign, and he was an infuriating type of racehorse because sometimes he'd go and go on, other times he'd go and he'd stop. He just wasn't figuring it out. And then all of a sudden, it clicked in the 4-year-old campaign. Then it really clicked as a 5-year-old. And now you're looking at a horse comes into this race with $8.6 million in earnings. So this is a race that's definitely going to push him over the top. I mean, you win this race, it's a huge pot. You're going to be looking at what million on his career. What's that?
You go over 10 million
Yeah.
earnings if he wins.
Yeah. It would be incredible. I mean, and the way he does it too. I mean, we were kind of brought up in the time of watching Cigar and how cool Cigar was and putting together 16 wins. But Cigar could kind of race from a little bit anywhere. He'd come from a little bit out of it. And that Nick's Go is just, he really is. He's one style. He goes, he doesn't care who comes after him. He's just going to outrun him. And that's what it's been pretty much every single time that you look at this for Nick's Go. I'm with you. I think he goes. I think, and I may be wrong. I mean, but again, you got Irad Ortiz and Todd Pletcher. I think if Life is Good tries to go with this horse, he might be gassed 3/4 of a mile into the race. And if that's the case, I think Nick's Go is just going to be cruising along there. And then it's a matter of who's going to come running in underneath. The horse that I picked second is Stiletto Boy. You get Kent DeSormo in here. This is a horse that has some tactical speed. This is a horse that you're coming in out of a race. You look 2 starts back in the Breeders' Cup Classic. All right, it was a 5th place finish, but the winner was Nick's Go. It wasn't a terrible race by any means for Stiletto Boy. And again, I think this is a horse that if they're smart, and Kent DeSormo is a very smart rider, you sit 3-4 lengths behind the early pace setters and wait and see who comes back to you, and you pick off everyone else. Second money here is what, $600,000? I mean, that wouldn't be too bad. I think second in that race. So that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it there. I went to Endorsed for third. The one problem I had with Endorsed here is the last 2 starts, Tyler Gaffleone rode the horse. Now, for some reason, he jumps off the horse, goes to the 7 Title Ready, a horse that he hasn't been riding, and Umberto Rispoli jumps on this horse. So I didn't know what to make of it. I don't think it's going to matter. I think they're going to be 10 lengths back, and we're all going to be watching Nick's Go. But that's kind of the way I saw things. I know you have Life is Good in second. What about Empty Tomb? What do you see with this horse here? Looking at 20-1, and this is a horse that might be able to run a little bit.
Well, the fact that this horse is super, super talented at the distance, winless in 7 starts, but has rounded out the exotics 5 times in those 7 starts. So he loves the distance. Now, he is better when forwardly placed, but it's interesting that there was a race for him next month over a surface that he is completely proven on, and that's the surface, but they think he was doing so well, they were able to put out the dough, put him on a plane, send him down to Florida, and give him a chance to get a check. So certainly, I think if they're that confident in this horse, why not? Paco Lopez in the irons, and Paco, he's pretty aggressive when it comes to those big checks.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, hopefully he's kind of one that stays away a little bit from that pace scenario, or that could really change the race. All right, as we round things out, we have the horses we think are going to win. Everybody, Nancy, always wants a price. So going through the 3 races quick, here's a look at your long shots for each of the races. So give a little bit of background on these horses and why you like them at a price.
All right, starting with the 9th, the number 10, In a Hurry. Really solid effort and kind of keeps moving forward since facing back against stakes runners. Very solid effort and was third to Sweet Melania and Swifty. She was able to get that ground saving race. And I think that her race is going to be in the first turn. So Javier Castellano in the board for Shug McGahee. Certainly can't go wrong with those connections. In race 11, Sacred Life, that is the number 8. Chad Brown and Jose Ortiz, closer in a field of speed. Comes across like a horse that you can't leave this one too much to do. There's some horses that are a little bit finicky, and this potentially could be one of these horses. Was 4th in last year's running, or excuse me, 2020's running. So definitely experience in those bigger races and does get a decent post, I like. So we'll see if this horse can maybe get up and get a little bit of a check. And in the big one, Stiletto Boy, Ed Mosier decided that, you know what, this horse, he's been so impressed by the way this horse is training. He wanted to definitely make arrangements to get this horse on a FedEx flight, send it out. Now they are looking for the very first win since they purchased this horse at sale for just $42,000 after his win for different connections in the Iowa Derby. So that 3rd place finish in the Grade 1 Malibu is a little deceiving because Flightline won that race by 11 and a half lengths. And all know that Kent DeSormo can certainly get up and get one up at a price.
All right, so there's your prices. If anything, at least hook these horses up in gimmicks underneath. If you don't put them on top, hook them up in some gimmicks underneath and see what you can get. Now, for me, 20 to 1, 20 to 1, 20 to 1 for the horses. If one of them runs in the money, I'm going to be happy. Bipartisanship, like we mentioned, 4 starts at the distance, 3 of 4 on the board. Paco Lopez aboard. We've mentioned time and again, Paco at Gulfstream is a guy that does very well. So because of that, I think you have to give consideration to that horse. Now in race number 11, March to the Arch was a horse that I looked to here, and only for a couple of reasons. This is a horse, again, good at the distance, a couple of victories at Gulfstream Park. I'm not sure what to make with Edwin Gonzalez. He's a guy that's kind of an up-and-coming rider, but man, Mark Cassie's a guy that definitely knows what he's doing with a racehorse. Draws favorably. Like you mentioned, if there's a bunch of speed in this race, Nancy, and it does fall apart and comes back to the field, somebody's got to come running at him late. Maybe it's March in there. Then for the final race, Stiletto Boy is going to be the horse for me as well. I mean, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe this is a horse that has a little bit of ability to pick up the pieces, could get the proper setup. So it is going to be Stiletto Boy for me in that spot. But Nancy, you are a hardworking woman. You have a lot of handicapping to do. You're at the track early. I've seen you post pictures early while there's training hours still going on. So I want to thank you. I love getting to talk to you. Like you said, we text each other basically every single day. But it's nice to have you join me.
A variety of topics, too.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you. You know what? We're going to reach back out to you when we get to Arkansas Derby time, as we're going to be starting to preview some of the races for the Kentucky Derby. So hopefully you'll join me again for that. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you for helping out for me as always. And it is awesome to have you. Now we just got to pick some winners for everybody, Nancy.
Better than picking your nose.
That's right. You're right with that. And on that note, we're going to leave everybody. We're going to say good night. Thank you again, Nancy. And good luck to you this weekend with the Southwest at Oaklawn.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Jim.
You got it.